Jimmy, I'm thirsty.
Well, good thing, man. The bar just opened. So, what are you having?
Um, well, do you mind making my drink for me?
Yeah, sure.
You play bartender for a minute.
hmm
Do you have anything? Do you have anything with a plot?
Oh, you're looking for a plot?
Yeah, like anything that has like a plot. Um,
Yeah, if you would have came
at all.
by 2 weeks ago, probably could have got our plot. But this week, we're not serving any plots. No plots.
What about? Okay. So I get
Sorry.
something that's like not convoluted. Um,
So you just want something simple that makes sense?
something that makes sense and like doesn't jump around a lot and is like a just it's about something.
I mean, I got this box of cereal with a spider in it.
You know what? I'm gonna go for well, okay. I want to ask one more. Do you have anything that has just like well developed characters, just like characters that you would care about?
Best I got is some black mold under the counter.
I'm gonna just get a water.
Yeah,
I'll just take a
I'm
water
actually not drinking at all. I don't even want to
at
open the. I
all.
don't even want to open the bar.
Wow. Um. Ha 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 ha. That was a bit because we watched Conjuring, subtitle "The Devil Made Me Do It," and I feel like the devil made me watch this movie.
Dude, I just want to tell you, man. I went back, so I was editing today. I got all of our stuff edited. I got our, Spirals up and scheduled. Army of the Dead is up and scheduled, and this one comes after it. And when I was editing, I said, "You actually predicted the future, dude. You predicted it. You said you're not too hot on this movie." And the things you said happened, and you're like, you were talking like about the jump scares and how they're gonna do them, and that happened. And I said that I'm a little hot on this movie, unless it Zack Snyder's me, and well, I
And
mean,
yeah, here we are.
I'm here to tell you, here we are, and I wish it would have Zack Snyder'd me. Is where we're at.
I am like unusual, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a bad mood. I've been working a lot lately. I'm like working late tonight. I've been working like all these weeknights. So I'm trying to be in a good frame of mind in terms of just being fair
Yeah,
because I don't think this movie. I think this movie is like technically fine from a like it is a serviceable movie.
I
It
liked a lot of the
exists.
shots and transitions they did. I thought they were pretty cool. A lot of some of the shots were neat.
Probably a good place to start. Yeah, like there was the second so okay, so there's two very this is a good thing and a bad thing. There's two very scary sequences that happen almost back to back in the first 20 minutes of the movie that are pretty good. Um the first exorcism scene I was and we'll get to the negatives about this later, but I was kind of like, oh, like really we're going to start with this. I will say it was genuinely pretty creepy when the kid is like folding around and
Mm-hmm.
that was scary. And the possession sequence that we experience with Arn, kind of the second experience where he murders his landlord.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is like a there's a scare that I didn't really like that much, which was like a thing like running towards him. I was like, okay, whatever. But he like crawls backwards, like he's like kind of like backing up from it, and he backs through this doorway, and this doorway is like red, and it was a very cool looking lighting effect
Yeah, it
to
was
me,
really cool.
and
I really
I
enjoyed that. That was one of my top ones that I liked as well.
thought that was effective. And then later there were hints of things when they're visiting the priest who had a daughter, even though he wasn't supposed to, and he is kind of explaining his backstory to them. that stuff's okay. They go back. She goes back a second time specifically, and that's where the twist is or whatever. And it's like, oh, my daughter is the occultist that's been leaving these little totems everywhere. And there's some red lighting going on there, and there is some plot stuff there that I'm like, this is more interesting than everything else that's happened in this movie. Is just kind of the reveal was okay.
Yeah.
Um, and the last thing I'll say is just that, like, obviously Patrick Wilson and is it Vera Farmiga? Is that her name? Um, double check that I have that correct. Vera Farmiga.
Hmm.
Um, good performances, solid performances. I think Patrick Wilson is good in roles like this. Um, but the rest of the movie sucked.
Yeah, dude, this is probably so. This is man. We've had two stinkers now right in a row, as far as I'm concerned. This one and Army of the Dead, but Army of the Dead was better
Yeah,
than
I
this
would
one.
say it's more I would say it's more entertaining. I personally think it's better at
Yeah,
at achieving what it wants to do.
I didn't.
Um, I, might not be the better film,
Yeah,
but I think it's more entertaining, and I think I would be more apt to watch Army of the Dead with someone for some of the cool action stuff going on than to just be like, "Did you guys see the new Conjuring movie? Let's throw this on for 2 hours."
yeah. I will say the one thing is it passed my initial test. Like if I have to, where Army of the Dead did not pass the test. When I have a simple test when I watch movies, if I look and see how much time is left more than twice, it's not a good movie as far as I'm concerned. And Army of the Dead, I hit it with the 4 time check because it was just so
Wow,
long. It was just so long. And this one, I only checked
it's a
once.
long film.
But I will say though, it
Okay.
lost me a lot in this one where I was on Facebook and Instagram a lot. I'm not gonna lie to all our viewers and listeners. A lot of points like midway throughout this movie completely lost me and I lost interest quick. I was laying on the couch, I was watching it, and I was just ended up scrolling on TikTok and Facebook, and I was catching bits and pieces of it, and then I was like invested in certain scenes. I think my favorite scene when we're talking about scenes, besides that one where Arn's like going backwards, is when Lorraine's down in like that basement area, that dungeon thing, and there's like 3 of her. Like that was cool.
Yeah,
That was really
yeah.
cool.
I think this movie has a solid first act. Because here's the thing. I liked the trailer. I thought the trailer was cool too. At first, there's a lot of things that simultaneously like and don't like.
Well, yeah,
And
you
what I mean by that is like, so I like the trailer. You like the trailer. We were both like, oh, this looks interesting. Then I was like, the movie starts and it's his sister's uh or it's his girlfriend's younger brother is the one that's possessed. So immediately you're like, oh, there's not really any stakes here because I know that he's the one that gets possessed at some point. So you're not really worried about that.
yeah, you brought
The
up a good
first
point.
sequence,
Yeah, you brought up a good
but
point when we were watching that.
I mean, like, it's still a cool sequence. Like the stuff that happens is cool, but there's not any. You're not really worried about it or anything, and you know
No.
what's gonna happen.
Yeah, you know it's going to be
So
okay. You're not invested. You don't care about the child, and you go on to
right,
go, okay, something's going to happen to Arn here, and then you see it, and then it happens, and then you see the trailer clip like not too long after it. And I think that you hit it right on the head when we were watching. You were like, man, I wish they didn't tell us what was happening in that trailer. And I think there was some better ways about it. I think they could have shown something else, and I probably still would have been invested. But man, right off the start, just knowing that like this scene doesn't matter was kind of rough.
well, and also, what in your opinion? I'm just curious if your head's where is where my head's at. What was the main marketing thing of this film? Like, what was the main thing they were pushing to get people to see this? In your opinion?
The whole lore behind it being like a court case, and the first time that they were trying to use a demonic possession in court, I think was the main thing.
and and what happens? So yes, that is correct. That is exactly. Everyone's like, this is the first. We had to find. I was like reading about this movie. They're like, James Wan's like, we had to find an interesting angle. and we don't want to do a third one unless we were sure that it can be something really different and interesting. And then it was like, we found it, first court case where they used possession as a defense. And I'm like, okay, so like maybe this is gonna be like a court thing, like maybe there's some drama, like what's gonna happen. And what happens exactly is that Arn kills his landlord, and then you see him in court for approximately 3 minutes, and they stand up and go, Your Honor, my client was possessed. And everyone goes, and the judge goes, No. And then they go, Okay, Your Honor. And then Arn goes to an asylum, and you don't see him for the rest of the movie until like you see him for like Arn. Arn is not. This movie is not about that case at all. It is literally like about like us like the movie is like it is a bait and switch. It's like the first case of demonic possession used in a court trial. You get 10 minutes of that, and then it's just like, all right, see you later, Arn, we'll check back on you later when you're trying to kill yourself as a plot device or whatever. The rest of the movie just goes into a totally different plot,
Yeah.
and you're just like, why do I don't care about Arn, I don't care about any of these characters.
Well, I even asked you, I was like, do we even care about him? Like before we didn't even see him again. I was like, do we care about him? And you were like, I don't care about anyone. I was like, me either. And then boom, gone.
No, and then they just disappear. I mean, this is my big issue with it, man. And we talked about this. I think it would have been a better movie if it had explored the idea that David wasn't possessed more, because you experience it through David's eyes. And I understand your point to this kind of was like, well, this is like an audience movie, and like the audience that is like not the audience experiencing it through Arn's eyes is
Yeah.
kind of what draws people in and what makes them invested.
Yeah.
And that's true.
So I think so after watching this movie, because my whole thing when you said wouldn't it have been better if they showed it like not actually the demon, and like then it left us guessing like, oh well maybe, and then my defense was I said, well, this makes the court scenes that much better. But then they never happened.
Well, and
So
that's the
like
thing is ultimately
now I'm like I don't know. It's now it's
we
like
were both talking. We're both like, because we are both kind of invested in the first like act of this movie. We were like, okay, so like where is this going? And I'm like, we're throwing out ideas about maybe how they could have done things differently or whatever. And then guess what? None of it matters
yeah, it
because
didn't.
the movie's not about that. It literally feels like I didn't watch a movie. I told you this when we were done. I was like, like I feel like I watched a half hour episode of a TV show, and then like an hour of a different TV show that had the same characters.
I feel like I feel like I was like, oh shit, I want to learn more about this Arn case and like the demonic possession. I
Right.
watched a YouTube video and then I fell asleep, and then another YouTube video was on about the same thing but like a different perspective.
Yeah.
It was just I was like, I don't know, man. And I know that after you said that, you're like, I don't even feel like I've watched a movie. And the only thing I could say to you was like, I don't even know what to say. Like I was like, I don't.
Well, I think it's the worst thing a movie can be, which is boring. I think like this was bad, like bad, to the point where you were like, how did this get made? Then you would kind of be like, well, that's interesting that they missed so heavily, like, and if it was good, obviously that's best case scenario. But this was down the middle of the lane, boring. And so like to revisit our comments from the last episode, I like The Conjuring. I like The Conjuring too. Um, the other movies that surround it, this whole cinematic universe of horror thing, cheapens it a little bit for me. And I feel like the the ghouls always look the same. It's always just like a gray person with like like black hair in front of their face,
Yeah.
and I, I don't even think that the Warrens were the most compelling characters in those first two movies. So like, but clearly I'm not the audience for this because a lot of people love these movies and they will go see this just based on the fact that it's like another one of these movies. And I think so. The problem is it is too boring to be a popcorn movie. Um, but it doesn't have enough substance to be anything more than a popcorn movie. You
Yeah.
know, it's stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's just like
I don't I don't even know how they could have
I,
made this better, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, most of the times I could at least think and like break it down and go, well, maybe if you did this and this, but it's like I don't know, maybe attack the story a little bit different. Like you use this based on a true story and you're just like a band you used it as a marketing gimmick. You used the whole based on a true story thing just to pull people in and then just said F you.
I think yeah, and I think I mean to make this a better movie, fundamentally I just have disagreements with the source material because I love paranormal stuff. I think it's very interesting to read about and to watch things about. Um, I don't know where my beliefs lie in that kind of thing because I've had some scary experiences, but I also can't confidently say that like all of this stuff is real, which is kind of the fun. That's the fun thing is that you don't know. You know, you're like, oh, like I don't really know if if this is real. It's kind of a mystery, and so fundamentally, the reason this kind of thing doesn't work for me is that we have to accept the Warrens as being legitimate from the get go of this series. And like, it would be more interesting to me if people were more skeptical of them, like they were in real life, because it does read kind of fishy to me. Um, I read about the Arn case on Wikipedia, and half of that family now is like, this is not what happened, and it was a hoax. And Lorraine and Ed told us that we would be able to get Arn out of jail and that we'd make a ton of money, and we were guaranteed book rights and film rights and stuff. So like in real life, it seems fishy, and in the movie, they will have it's like per movie they have at least one character that's always like, I don't know about this. And then they do one thing to prove to them that they're real. And then the character's like, well, guess I was wrong. And in this movie, it's the same thing. They have a cop that's like, yeah, this is hocus pocus. And then she's like, I'll find your killer. And then she does. And then he's like, well, guess I was wrong. And it's just like they are the superheroes of this Marvel horror world. And I wish that there was more. It is not realistic to me that um I wish there was more skepticism in it. I would enjoy trying to put together a puzzle in my head or solve a puzzle of, are these people real? Is what they're doing real? Is what's happening on screen real? Are these people crazy? Like what's, I would enjoy putting those things together.
Yeah, I think I would have enjoyed more of like so like the real history of Ed and Lorraine. They're just regular paranormal investigators, just like anyone we've seen on TV. There's no difference. Lorraine is a self-proclaimed clairvoyant. Um, I think I would have rather them be like actual like investigators and less like super. It's like every scene it was like Lorraine was tapping into something and then she was like,
Yeah.
and then she was gone, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, like that's not like
And
I
it's this
guess it
thing there,
makes it
it's
for the
like,
movie, but it's I don't know.
it's this thing too. It does this thing that's like annoys me so much. And it's things happening for the sake of convenience. Um, I think we're on the same page in terms of like, just I don't like the way that this movie says based on it, which a lot of things do this, but I think it's rightful to call it out. I don't like that this says based on a true story, just so that they can swerve like a third of the way in and take you down a not true story path.
Yeah, so here's the thing
Um,
with these is a lot of movies do it, a lot of horror movies do it, but like let's take in for like example, the most baseline based on a true story is Amityville Horror. And like even that like didn't like stray too far. Like that was the story. Like it was based on it. It went in and
right,
like you were there. You were in the world. And now of course like now like you're in and you're in the haunting and now do whatever you want. Like go ahead, like embellish it. This
right.
is because it's a movie. And then you go on from there. But this one just like was like based on a true story and then just like full on like 180'd out of it.
Yep.
And I don't think that's
Yep.
fair. I don't think that's fair to the viewers. I don't think that's fair to us. I don't think that's fair to the people that enjoy the franchise. And if I'm wrong, like tweet at me, like be like, hey, I really enjoyed
But
it. Like
yeah,
go like right ahead. I don't care.
I would love to hear from people that really love this movie, like in a non-condescending way, just because I would like to know. I do. It is this thing where it's almost like, and I love horror movies so much. Like I'm such a horror fan. But to me, it's like it's like a foreign language. It's like I genuinely don't. It doesn't translate for me, and I would like to know
It didn't seem like a
what other
horror movie,
people
man,
see.
to me. It didn't seem like a horror movie at all. Like it
Well,
was,
okay.
like it is, but like I don't know,
I'm
man. Like it
I'm
took how long before anything happened? Like we see
well.
that
I'm halfway into taking my technically a serviceable film comment back because how many? I don't know if you've seen The Exorcist or not.
yeah, I've seen it.
But how many exorcisms happen in The Exorcist?
No, I'm not I don't know, one? Yeah, one. Okay.
One.
I was like, wait, one.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And when does it happen? It happens at right around the two thirds of the way into the movie. The way that God intended. The
Mhm.
climax of the film.
Yep.
This movie, again, two individually good sequences, but to put them back to back, have them be the scariest things that happen in the movie by far, put them right at the front, and then the rest of the movie is just building up towards nothing. Even the climax doesn't touch those two things. It's cool. You get to see Patrick Wilson swing the sledgehammer around. That's kind of fun. But it's not. It doesn't touch those first two
They kind of did
sequences.
like a shining moment there at the end though when he was
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
that was a neat little throwback. I'm okay with
I
those. Like, I'm okay with
I
doing
think
that. I think
the
that's
real
cool.
the real problem is just the middle act. It drags. It's not what you thought the movie was going to be. So already you're kind of like, what? Okay. And then it's like it's very slow, and it's a lot of things not matching the height of the first act, so they kind of bumble around, and every 15 minutes it's like, oh, a new creepy
You
thing
know what's
happened.
crazy about that, dude? Is like, so think about this. So like, even to pick up, like, they had to tell us like what was happening. Like, they had to hold our hand throughout the movie in certain spots because it didn't make sense. So when they have the kids back at their house and he's in that waterbed and he gets like grabbed, that holds our hand for Ed and Lorraine going underneath the house and going, "Holy shit, you've been cursed." And we're like,
Right.
"What?"
Right. Oh
What?
yeah, there's a ton of stuff in this that treats the audience like they are the dumbest mouth breathers on earth. There's a part. So Ed has heart issues after the exorcism thing happens, and there's a part where he forgets his heart medication. Fine enough. That's foreshadowing. That's good. That's like what you want in your movie. Then later, when he leaves the house and to go to rescue Lorraine or whatever, there is like a lingering shot on a pill bottle on the table, and it's just the most obvious. Like, look, you're gonna want to remember this. Don't forget the heart stuff. It's like it just treats you like you're so dumb.
Well,
Like it's just no subtlety, no subtlety. Everything smacks you in the face.
Well, it's either they think that their viewers are dumb or it's poor filmmaking, man. It's poor, just, it's like poor storytelling. You know, if you have to like
Well,
smash things in people's faces every 15 minutes and go, hey, don't forget about this because we did a bad job making you remember this part. And hey, now we're
right.
here. Like, hey, we're here, even though we started here. And oh, now we're back down here.
And I don't want to talk shit on a movie I haven't seen, or a director for that matter, because like I said, I haven't seen this film. But I was surprised that they went with the director they did, Michael Chavez, because he was the director of The Curse of La Llorona, which I have not seen. So I mean, this happens sometimes. Like, that movie is a part of this universe I don't really like, but there's a chance I watch that movie and I'm like, oh, I thought that was great. So I'm not trying to come down on that, but critically, that film received like and I hate to talk about Rotten Tomatoes because it's an aggregator. So we'll just say 28% of critics like that movie, which is a very low amount of critics. And so I was surprised that they tapped into him again for this. Um,
Do we count as
I
critics?
also,
Do we count as critics?
if we publish our reviews in written form, we do. We should look into doing that. We should just transcribe the podcast. This could be the review. This could be the dialogue.
Drinks. Aaron drinks Fresca, slams down in anger.
You can hear me slurping in the mic. Another thing. Well, we're just throwing stuff into the pile. There was a moment that stuck out to me as weird, and it was when they find the totem and they print out all these pictures of it, and they're like, go put these out all over town, and we'll figure out like who's gonna, we'll figure out if anybody knows about this. And there's a priest there. There's like a random priest there. Oh, it's the guy from the beginning, the guy they call for the exorcism. But he goes, wait a minute,
no, it's a different guy.
Okay, so it is just a random guy.
It's a random priest.
Yeah. There's a random priest there that goes.
At least I think, because the priest would like looked. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I think the priest looked much, I don't know, way different than that guy.
Truly doesn't matter. But he says this just caught me as weird. He goes, wait a minute, I think I know someone that can help. Do you remember the priest that solved the mystery of the Rams cult a few years ago? And I was like, what? I was like, is this like some weird exposition? I was like, what is this? So I sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I have the plot pulled up on Wikipedia, and if there's a point I don't understand, I will just read up to that point to see if it's clarified. And not only was it not clarified, but it was a hyperlink. And I said, oh, is this based on a real thing? So I clicked Rams cult incident. It's from Annabelle, a movie that I haven't seen, which is just, this is, I'm sorry, but this is the thing where it's like, oh, you haven't seen Iron Man 8? You're going to have no idea what's happening in Captain America 4. Like, I was like, what is, like, I haven't seen that movie. And it's not, I was just like, I hate this. And it's not their fault that I didn't see this stupid movie. I could have watched the movie, but it's just like, why does this have to be relying on this? And I love franchises. I love Friday the 13th. And those movies have numbers in them. I know that I need to watch Friday the 13th Part 7 before I watch Friday the 13th Part 8. But this is like, for diehard Conjuring fans, you might remember the Rams cult from the 2014 film Annabelle, which was also critically slammed for being boring and dumb. I just hate it.
How are these movies still getting made though, man? That's the thing. Like you're talking.
Well,
so like
people
love them. I'll be honest. I've never seen the Conjuring 2. I watched the first one. I didn't see Annabelle. I didn't see any of these other ones you're talking about. So like I don't know. I'm kind of like new to this thing, and I like I'm getting out. I don't want to see anymore. I don't want to go see it anymore.
Well, people like them. And that's not a bad thing.
I really liked the first one. I thought the first one was great. I really enjoyed it.
It is good. The first one is genuinely very good. And I even thought the second one was like ambitious enough that it even overcame its faults for me, where I just thought it was a genuinely interesting movie. But I think that these are movies I recently watched. I've been watching a lot of Red Letter Media lately. Shout out to that channel. They did an episode way back. I'm watching these old episodes. They did an episode on Paranormal Activity 4.
Oh, fuck those Sinister. Movies.
And they talked about the difference between being scared and being startled. And this movie does the thing that I said on the last episode. This, to its credit, it did it less than I thought it was going to. But there's this certain kind of scare that is like every single one of these James Wan produced movies. And I think he's an okay director. I'm not trying to come down on him, but the scare is, and this happened right at the beginning of the movie, something there, it's like quiet. So you're like, oh, something's going to happen. There's going to be a loud noise. And somebody will turn to their left and there's nothing there. So the audience goes, oh, and then the camera turns back and suddenly there's something right here. And that's the part where you go, ah! And a lot of times it's accompanied by a loud noise that goes, bong! And it's just not scary. It's just startling. And it's frustrating. And it's like the thing that I think people think horror is sometimes, but it's not. And I just don't want, like,
do you want to make a movie called The Startling?
Yeah,
and it's not a horror. You're just like getting like, oh,
bong.
Like the
Just
cabinet
sound
opens and the
design.
cereal falls out. You're like, oh shit. And then like a rat falls by. You're like, oh, whew.
That was a funny moment. I was surprised by. I thought it was a spider or something. It probably was a rat. I don't know. Something scurried. There's a ghost moment where you're like, "Ooh, the cereal box fell," and then like a spider or a mouse or something crawls out of it. Um, I just feel like I'm up on a soapbox now. I almost feel bad because the thing is, like, I don't want to tear down something that other people like because I like plenty of dumb stuff. My only argument would just be like, as a horror fan, I don't want this to be the way that horror goes, and I don't
Yeah.
think it is because we're getting stuff by Jordan Peele that's great. We're getting movies like It Follows that are like original and very interesting. And so like I'm not too worried about it, but I would just say like if you love these movies, that's totally okay. But if this is like the only horror movies you watch, like maybe just like consider looking into, do a Google search, like top 10 horror movies of the past 10 years, and maybe just like watch some other stuff because there's nothing wrong with liking popcorn movies. Everyone has their own tastes and stuff. I just think that there's a lot more that is like a lot less derivative and is
Yeah.
actually a lot scarier, and more fun.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, unfortunately, it's come to the time where I have to say, man, we gotta shut this freaking bar down, bud. We gotta shut
We
it
didn't
down.
even introduce the show. We got right into it because I've been boiling over this movie since last night.
It is time to
This has
plug.
been after the movies. Sorry, this has been after the movies. Thank you for listening, and I'm sorry that I'm such a downer. I am hoping that next week will not be a downer. I know it might be in terms of themes because I think it deals with like dementia a little bit, if I know, and Alzheimer's, I think is my guess based on
Yeah,
what I've read.
I'm not gonna like that.
However, the film is exciting and I'm excited for it because it is a lost film, which feels like just a very cool opportunity and not something that happens very often. Recently dug up for Shudder. It is a lost film by George A. Romero titled The Amusement Park.
If
And
you
it comes
guys
right
don't
out
know
of
who
his
he
weird.
is, he's the one who created that '70s show.
Fucking stupid.
You gotta know
Oh
who
man.
George Romero is. Come on.
Come on, come on.
Dude, if you're watching us talk about movies,
Uh,
you know who George Romero is. There's no
yeah.
shot you've been watching us and you don't know who George Romero is. And if you don't,
Of the live
there you
of
go.
the Living Dead fame,
Yep.
people. Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Land of the Dead. Maybe he didn't direct that one. No, he did, I think. Land of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, and upcoming Twilight of the Dead, which will be the last film that was put together, filmed before his death and is being edited now. Not sure how those new ones hold up. I actually bought a couple copies of
Really, the
Diary
only
of the Dead and
zombie
Survival of the
movies
Dead.
I like, to be honest with you, if I think back, like, not a big. I don't know. I don't want to get into it because it's a whole another show. I just think it's over.
Well,
It's overdone.
well, we'll talk about it next week because yeah, we've talked a little bit about it on our Army of the Dead episode about this zombie mania thing that happened and how it kind of really
Yeah.
watered down and got burnt out. So this is not a zombie film, from my understanding. I don't know too much about it, but I do know that it is made in the 70s, and it is a lost film, and it's a little experimental, but it's getting
Cool.
a lot of good
Cool.
reviews,
I'm excited
and
for it, man. It'll
very
be fun.
excited to watch something different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited. So you want to tell them what it is to
So,
watch before next week?
oh, I didn't even say the name of it. The
Hmm.
Amusement Park.
Yep, the amusement park on
Watch.
Shutter. Shout out Shutter, by the way. Shout out Shutter.
Shout out Shutter,
I
who's
just
been
paid for a
providing
year.
a lot of.
Just paid for.
Oh hell
I just
yeah!
got my year today. My year got taken out today. So
Was it on purpose?
yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I would have done it anyways, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great platform. But yeah, it was an
They've
accident.
been providing us a lot of they've been providing us with a lot of our content
And the
for this show.
and the
So-
guy in charge of it always likes my tweets when we do stuff. So that's cool. Thank you so much. Shit.
So yes, thank you for joining us. I hope that I didn't cramp anyone's style. If you like this movie, More power to you. Love the things you love. Don't let me squash on it. It didn't work for me.
Hmm.
And if Ed and Lorraine came to the bar at last call or anytime, I would fervently tap on a sign above the bar that says "No superheroes allowed" in the bar, and they would go to some other haunted bar. They probably put a curse on the bar or something. That could be a recurring bit in the future. Maybe our bar's haunted now because we didn't let them in.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
Ladies and gentlemen,
We'll workshop it.
you can get more content from everything that Lomo Media does by going to patreon.com/Lomo Media, not media, patreon.com/Lomo Media. Shout out Jay Irvin. You can get a shout out on all of our shows.
Thank
so
you, Jay.
you might as well do it. $3, $5. Get a shout out. Help us out. For $3? Damn, dude. You probably lose $3 in your couch. You might as well give it to us.
Low price of $3. You can watch these movies with us while we're you could have been right in the middle of the conversation last night when I was just complaining about this movie. If you think I'm fun at parties, you're gonna want to join that Patreon. But also get some really cool behind the scenes footage of our sketches, some photos, and what's the perk I'm forgetting? Access to the Discord.
Yeah, get the
Access
Discord.
to the Discord.
And at the $5, so $5 tier, you get to see the behind the scenes stuff. Every tier gives you Discord and shooting the bit video if you're into shooting the bit. But
thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoy the show. We hope that we have a better movie in store for you next week.
I'm sure
and if you
do.
want to, you can watch that on Shudder. I got a good feeling about it. Until then, thank you so much for supporting and watching the show and sharing it. We really appreciate it, and we'll be back next week.
Have a good one, everybody. See you later. Get the hell out of the bar.
Get out of the bar.